Well, the NFC South is absolutely abysmal. We've also got midseason awards and your six-pack for the week. We got all that and more on today's episode of Locked On NFL.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome into another episode of Locked On NFL, your daily podcast, bringing you everything you need to know around the National Football League in less than 30 minutes, or right around 30 minutes. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It's a Friday episode here on Locked On NFL. We appreciate you so much for making us your first listen of the day. You'll notice there's a little bit of change in melanin so far on this episode. All right, it's not Chris Carter today. He's off in he's out.
Put him in the corner, man. He said something wrong last week. We put him on timeout, man.
He and I did that crossover on Thursday, and I said, this can't be it. This cannot be it. So instead, you've got your boy Q. You heard him, host of Locked On Raiders at your boy Q254 on Twitter. Myself, Ross Jackson at Ross Jackson Nola on Twitter, here to bring you everything you need around the National Football League today. And today's episode of Locked On NFL is brought to you by our friends over at LinkedIn. They are making sure that you are getting everything that you need in terms of getting your quality candidates quicker, faster than ever. LinkedIn jobs you can post for free. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL. Q and I will tell you more about them a little bit later on. Q, as we wrap up the night of Thursday Night Football, get started with Week 10. First of all, are we done with Thursday Night Football yet? Can this be over?
Man, it feels like it should be, right? And then as soon as we say that, and as soon as we dismiss it and say, I don't need any more Thursday Night Football, which I've done plenty of times, all of a sudden a good game will pop up and you'll say, wow, that was fantastic. And that's why it's here, right? I mean,
just keep pulling us in.
Yeah, they know how to reel us back in, man. They're machine. They know it.
They know what they're doing. So the Carolina Panthers knock off the Atlanta Falcons. The game was mostly abysmal, as is the NFC South. So this is where we kind of want to focus. First of all, let me ask you this question, Q. When you look at the performance of Marcus Mariota, who's like rolling on the ground and throwing passes up over his shoulder.
Him for that? Can you put him over in the corner with Chris Carter? I'm serious. Like, really, when I saw that pass from Marcus Mariota from basically his backside,
right?
Like, wait a minute. They're telling you in the NFL and football in general, don't throw it across the field. Don't throw it across your body. He threw it from his backside, and lucky for him, he was down, because it resulted in a pick six.
Yep.
But if you're the coach, you have to be Arthur Smith and say, "Hey, dude, you come on, sit on over here by me. Go on, take your helmet off, man. You're done. I don't care what Ross. You can go into the game after that because there's no reason why any NFL quarterback should ever do what Marcus Mariota did. It blew my mind.
Let me tell you something, Q. If I went in there at quarterback, I would get sacked. I would get hurt. I would throw interceptions, but I would not do that.
Thank you.
That I would not have done. I would have just fallen to the ground and protected my humility. There is no reason that he was in the game after that.
No.
But Coach Arthur Smith, after the game, and Aaron Freeman talked about this over on Locked On Falcons today too, had apparently no thought of changing the quarterback at any point during. Remember, he also ran out of bounds after evading a couple of sacks, but he could have just thrown the ball away. So there was also like more than just this one play. So moving forward, Q, is it Desmond Ridder season yet in Atlanta? Can we just get to Desmond Ridder season now?
You know what's funny? I think because of the division, as you mentioned at the top, how abysmal it is, that the Falcons are still, there's so much in it that they don't want to basically wave the white flag and say, all right, we're going to bring the rookie in and see what he's got, right? I think they're just close enough to be, too close to say it's time for the rookie, but they're not good enough to say that they really have a chance to be players, if that makes any sense, right? And that's kind of how Marcus is keeping his job.
Yeah.
Like, he's not good, but he's not bad enough to be benched, but he's just somewhere in the middle. And it's just like, you want to get rid of him, but you can't really get rid of him. So I think that Desmond Ridder should be out there, and he should have definitely been out there after that play. But I just think when you look at the grand scheme of things and how bad that division is, the Falcons are right there, and they had a chance to even come back and tie the game at the end. So, it's what are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm going to file this under one of those, like we had the discussion not too long ago, one of those Chris Rocks. I don't agree, but I understand.
I understand.
I think like if you're going to keep with Marcus Mariota, Cordero Patterson having 5 rushing attempts can't be the case, right? Like you have to lean more into the guys that end up and only 1 target as well, by the way. You got to lean on the guys that are going to be able to help to kind of make things happen in lieu of the quarterback in that case. Meanwhile, in Carolina, PJ Walker is out here looking like the XFL Mahomes that we all fell in love with during his time in the league, or AAF Mahomes. I can't remember which one he was in. But Sam Darnold's on the bench. Baker Mayfield's on the bench. Carolina is going through so much at quarterback. Do you think they regret, not right now, not having Cam Newton, but making the decision that they made on Cam Newton when they did?
If they don't, Matt Rule does, right? I mean,
that's a good point.
Matt Rule's been fired already, and that was the one thing he didn't have. I mean, because look, Carolina has talent. You know the talent they have, even after trading Christian McCaffrey. They have talent, especially on the defensive side of things, but they can never get a quarterback. And one of the first things that Rule did when he got there was basically show Cam Newton the door, only to bring Cam Newton back. I mean, it's been such a roller coaster with that quarterback position there in Carolina. You realize that team's not going to be good until they get a real deal quarterback. I mean, look, you got a Deontay Foreman who's basically given a lifeline back to his career, and he's rushing for all these yards. I mean, this guy, the Carolina Panthers are averaging like 160 yards rushing the last 3 games. I mean, they can run the ball. They just don't have a guy that can throw it. So that's the biggest problem. But PJ Walker, I mean, at least he's giving them a little bit of hope, but it's just not enough. They need a guy.
It helps when you have a guy like Deontay Foreman who carried the ball 31 times in that game, 130 rushing yards. So PJ Walker did the ball how many times? 16, right? For 108 yards. So, I mean, at that point, you're just trying to keep drives alive with the passing game, and then you're good. You're good. So, over under 7.5. Okay. How many wins will the NFC South division winner have at the end of the season?
Oh, man. Yeah, I think it might be over, but barely, right?
Like
I mean, I remember that Seahawks team back in the day.
Exactly. Yes.
You were thinking, huh?
Yeah, I remember them all too well, Q.
Oh, yeah. My bad. That's right. Man. That was.
Oh, the Beastquake.
Yep, my fault.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
That's who I'm thinking of right there. Yep. I'm thinking of a team like that doesn't even have a 500 record that's going to be in the playoffs because that division is bad. So I'll say over, but it's barely. I mean, literally 8 wins might get them in.
That's all it's going to take. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to take the under. I think it's going to be a 7-10 team. I really do. The Bucks are bad. The Saints are bad. The Panthers are bad. The Falcons are bad. It's all bad in the NFC South. The only thing is that eventually one of them has to beat the other, right? So you see the games like Carolina versus Atlanta. Somebody's got to win that game,
right?
With the division, within the division.
Carolina's got 3 division wins,
right?
Like they're
the ones.
Yep, exactly.
But yet they're last place in the NFC South right now.
Go figure.
And then the Saints, they have the opportunity here up against the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend to win and be tied for first place if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lose to the Seattle Seahawks in Germany. We're going to be breaking that game down a little bit when we get to our 6-pack here, our Friday 6-pack. But coming up next, let's get to some midseason awards. Q, MVP, Coach of the Year, Defensive Player, Offensive Player, Comeback Player. We're going to hit all of it and kind of look at where the individual sort of players are across the NFL here mid-season. We got that coming up for you as we continue on with this episode of Locked On NFL here on this Friday episode. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs is voted number 1 by small businesses all across the country for as the best place in terms of providing leading hires versus all of their leading competitors, getting you those quality folks that you want to talk to faster and, more importantly, for free. They want to be certain, 100% certain, that you get all of the best qualified candidates available. That's why they make it super easy with things like screening questions, which will make it easy for you to focus on the candidates with the right skills and experience that you're looking for and who you'd like to interview and eventually hire. And you can also add the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to help spread the word that you're hiring as well. LinkedIn Jobs is going to help you find all those qualified candidates faster and easier. And you can post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, everybody, continuing on with this episode of Locked On NFL. Your boy Q, Ross Jackson, here to get you set up with mid-season awards. We're going to take a look at MVP, all this stuff through the middle of the season. We appreciate you so much for making Locked On NFL your first listen of the day, every day, especially here on this Friday. If you want to check it out too, you've got a second listen waiting for you with Locked On Sports today, getting you all the biggest news from the local experts and only the way that the Locked On Podcast Network can provide. You can find that on this app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Q, who's your MVP, your most valuable player through the first half of the NFL season thus far?
You know, there's a couple guys that come to mind, but I'm going to go with the team that's undefeated. That's the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm going to shout out to my guy, Jalen Hurts. Man, I was a big Jalen Hurts fan coming out of Alabama and Oklahoma, and I thought he got thrust into the action a little bit early in Philadelphia. There was obviously question marks going into the offseason. Is he going to be the guy? He's got a lot to prove this year. Well, all he's gone out is led the troops, and he's done a heck of a job after getting A.J. Brown on the squad during the draft. I thought that was a great acquisition by the Eagles, and again, undefeated. He went into the lab. This is what I really like about Jalen Hurts. He went into the lab in the offseason and did a lot of self-scouting, a lot of self-work, and you can see that it's paid off in a major way so far in this 2022 season. So I really want to salute that young man, and can appreciate the work ethic that he has and the leadership skills he has as well. So I'm rolling with Jalen Hurts and the undefeated Eagles. Got to give Jalen Hurts that MVP for the season.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree 100%. I could go chalk. I could say, look, Patrick Mahomes leading the league in touchdown passes and all that with 21. I could, talk about Josh Allen, of course, who's been excellent. I know he's dealing with an injury. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But, he's been outstanding so far this season as well over in Buffalo. But Jalen Hurts has just been electrifying. Yeah. And he's not just doing it through the air. He's doing it on the ground. And I said that in a specific way because I think usually when people have thought about Jalen Hurts, they thought about him as the mobile guy first, right? The guy that could run but didn't have the arm. Now he's out here making it happen with both. So I think he has just been absolutely outstanding. Next up, let's look at Coach of the Year so far. I'm going to jump in on this one to get us started. I'm going to go with Robert Saleh over with the New York Jets. That Jets team is nothing like what I thought it was going to be going into the season. I remember when we were doing our Ultimate Division crossover, like our Ultimate season preview, John Butchko, host of Locked On Jets, said that he was going to be bold. His bold prediction was that the Jets would win an AFC South or AFC East game. One of them things.
Just one.
They just knocked off the Buffalo Bills.
Right. Yep.
They have an earlier win against the division as well. They have been awesome. Way better than I thought that they were going to be. And I think that's a part of what Coach of the Year is. Can you outperform expectations? And in some cases, can you outperform your roster? That's a really young roster over there with a couple of guys they picked up from a few places. Now, you love the addition of who those young guys are. Sauce Gardner's been outstanding. Garrett Wilson's been awesome. They added over at the wide receiver position over the course of the previous years. Zach Wilson, they're winning with him. He was a guy that I wasn't sure about coming into the NFL. Right. Not totally sold on him yet either.
Right.
So by that framework, I think Robert Saleh is helping this team overperform its roster, overperform its expectations. He's my Coach of the Year so far.
I can agree with that 100%. And, looking at New York in general, I could look at the Giants as well and say, hey, Brian Daboll's doing some fantastic things. I think those guys, Daboll and Saleh, could go outside and arm wrestle, and whoever wins could be, Coach of the Year. But, Ross,
I'll take Saleh in that matchup, by the way.
Yeah, by the way. Daboll, he's a fun guy, but I think Saleh's got the brawn. He's got the strength over him. But I'm going to take it out west. I'm going to look at Pete Carroll and what he's doing in Seattle. They go and trade Russell Wilson to the Broncos, and you think that they're going to be trying to get a top 5 pick, if not the number 1 overall pick. Oh, Geno Smith. Oh, Drew Lock. One of those two quarterbacks is going to be the guy. Sure they are. Well, lo and behold, Geno Smith has been the guy. The Seahawks defense is playing like it used to play. They have just a sense of joy about themselves. And Pete Carroll, who I said, there's no way he's there for a rebuild. He's not there for a rebuild. He wouldn't want to rebuild. No, Q, you're right. He doesn't want to rebuild. He wants to lead the NFC West. And that's what he's doing right now. So Pete Carroll right now is my guy, Coach of the Year in 2022.
That's a great pick. All right, let's go Defensive Player of the Year. Let's show the defensive side of the ball some love. Who's your DPOY so far this season?
I'll tell you right now, I can go with the easy one and pick Micah Parsons, and I think that there would be no argument. But I'm going to stick it in Seattle, man. I'm going to stay in Seattle, and I'm going to say Tariq Woolen. and he's a rookie out of
Oh,
UTSA.
wow, yeah.
Rookie cornerback. I think he was a 5th-round pick. He was the guy that wasn't even expected to start, but because of injuries during training camp, he got that opportunity, and he hasn't looked back yet. Tariq Woolen has been fantastic in Seattle. Him and his running mate, Kobe Bryant, out of Cincinnati. Man, I'll tell you, they, by the way, got great names there in Seattle.
Oh, yeah, they got a Michael Jackson over there, too.
Right. They got Michael Jackson, too. They got all the great names there in Seattle. So shout them out for that. But no, Tariq Woolen's been fantastic. I know he's a rookie, and so most likely he'd probably end up getting Defensive Rookie of the Year, if not Sauce Gardner. But I'm going to roll with Tariq Woolen because he came from just where most people didn't think he was gonna come from. They didn't think he was gonna be the guy, and all of a sudden he's stepped up to be that dude. So that's gonna be my one that most people aren't paying attention to. Tariq Woolen for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm gonna go with the chalk. I'm gonna go with Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is so good. Justin Fields wouldn't touch him while he was laying down. There you go. He's my defensive player of the year. No, Perfect. But he's been outstanding. I mean, the guy has been absolutely just disruptive. He's been a one-man demolition crew over on the defensive side, but he's also dropping back into coverage. He's getting, he's forcing these turnovers. He's putting points on the board. Yeah, I got to go with Micah Parsons. Hard to pass him up.
Yep.
Offensive player of the year, though, I am going to go a little bit off the beaten trail, I think, with this one. And I'm going to stick with the guy that I said was going to be the best running back in this year's group. That's not Derrick Henry. I thought Derrick Henry would be maybe the third best.
Okay.
My number one running back going into this year was Nick Chubb. And he's been awesome so far this year. Second in yards, leads in touchdowns on the ground. He has been the one thing, honestly, that's really kept the Cleveland Browns in any kind of conversation for being a team that could contend when they get their quarterback and Deshaun Watson back. I think that he's been great. He's been somebody that I think has contributed multiple levels, of course, over on the offensive side, multiple phases of the offensive game plan. And when he gets going, he's simply unstoppable. For most of the year, he has led the season, or led the league in rushing, with the exception of here recently with Derrick Henry finally starting to pop off so far this year. So I'm going to go with Nick Chubb. I think he's been awesome so far this year.
No, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I'm going to roll with Tyreek Hill and what he's doing in Miami. I mean, he's really helped elevate that Dolphins team to where they are and has made Tua Tagovailoa look like a really good quarterback. Not that he wasn't, but he gave him that weapon that he really needed, to kind of take this game to the next level. And you got to love what Coach McDaniel's doing there in Miami as well. But Tyreek Hill is exactly what Devontae Adams was supposed to be here in Las Vegas. As I cover the Raiders, Devontae Adams was supposed to be the guy that took the Raiders to the next level. Tyreek Hill has done that in Miami. So I'm going to roll with the Cheetah. He makes the move from KC and Patrick Mahomes to Tua Tagovailoa, Miami, and he ain't missed a beat. So shout out to Tyreek Hill, Offensive Player of the Year.
Pretty incredible, his performance. Yep. Shout out to biracial king Mike McDaniel. Next up, we'll go to Comeback Player of the Year. We've mentioned both of these players. I already know where you're going. I agree with you 100%. I'm not going to steal your guy, though.
Thank you.
I'm going to go with New York Giants running back Saquon Barkley.
Ooh, good one. Really good one.
Was especially at that position.
Yep.
To come back from the injury that he came back from, the lower body injuries. You know how that goes, Q. Yep. Like a lot of times we see, with the exception of Adrian Peterson, right?
Right. He's a different dude.
He ruined ACL injuries for everybody because everybody was like, well, he can come back and do that.
Mm-hmm.
Saquon Barkley, though, comes back from this season-ending injury and has been Saquon Barkley. He has not just been a good running back. He has been Saquon Barkley, the jump cuts, the little one-cut runs, everything that he's doing. He's been awesome so far this year and a ton of fun to watch. He has been the Saquon Barkley that we thought he was going to be. And not that he hasn't lived up to that. It's just been injuries, right?
Right.
But he has been exactly so far this season who we thought he was going to be for the length of his career, unencumbered. He has been very much dealing with injuries and things like that. But man, he has been awesome off of this comeback year. So he's my Comeback Player of the Year so far.
That's a great one. It's probably even better than the one I'm going to pick, but I'm going to roll with the guy that I mentioned already in the show, and it is Geno Smith, quarterback there in Seattle. I never thought there'd be a conversation any point of any time where I said Geno Smith is playing better than Russell Wilson, but he is. And so the Seahawks, they decided to trade Russell Wilson to the Broncos, and you never thought that they were going to have anybody worth the salt at the quarterback position. Geno Smith has done nothing his whole career, no matter where he's been. He's been a glorified backup, and all of a sudden, he has made himself a lot of money. Somebody's going to pay Geno Smith. If it ain't the Seahawks, it'll be somebody going to pay them a lot of money during the offseason. So Geno Smith, I don't have to say anymore. The Seahawks are leading the division there in the NFC West. Comeback player of the year.
Doing what nobody thought he'd be able to do. And he still ain't writing back.
Right.
Still ain't writing back.
Nope.
All right. All right. We're going to speak a little bit more on the Seahawks here in just a moment because we're going to take a look at that Seahawks and Tampa Bay game in Munich. First ever NFL game in Germany, as well as 5 more games. We're going to get to our Friday 6-pack here and get some picks for you before we get to the weekend. Before we get to that, though, today's episode is brought to you by SimpliSafe. I've got SimpliSafe here. Got it. Got the little box of all the little gizmos and gadgets. Got the home base station. Got the glass break detection. Got the motion sensors, exterior keypad. Came in a big box and a whole bunch of different pieces. Took me no time to set up though. And then now doing all the traveling like we do for the NFL with the away games and everything, I ain't got to worry about nothing. Got peace of mind while I'm on the road. And right now, SimpliSafe is giving up their biggest offer right now. You can get a home security system from SimpliSafe for 50% off. Their biggest offer of the year. So you're not going to want to miss that because in an emergency, you get 24/7 professional monitoring agents that are using Fast Protect technology, which is exclusive to SimpliSafe, to capture critical evidence and to verify any kind of threat is real to make sure that you get priority police response. So don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system that Q and I are going to recommend. That's SimpliSafe. Get 50% off of any new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl today. It is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. All right, everybody, we are wrapping up this Friday edition of Locked On NFL. Time to get to the Locked On NFL Friday 6-pack presented to you by our friends over at BetOnline, who have more odds, lines, and props than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Q, we got 6 games that we're going to run through here. Let's start with Seattle, and Tampa Bay, on the road in Germany. The first ever NFL game in Germany, -2.5 in favor of Tampa. Where do you go with this one?
Man, I mean, once you called them Seattle, I got stuck right there. I got to roll with the Seattle Seahawks, man. In all honesty, man.
I'll tell you what happened to me. We did all that talk about Russell Wilson. I called Russell Wilson Sierra's husband. I had Sierra on the line.
Yes.
And who doesn't? Who doesn't?
Well, that's a whole nother subject. But we'll talk about that later. I'll say this. I'm going to roll with Seattle. I just don't think Tampa Bay is right. I really don't. I mean, they've been off all season long. You know it very well in that covering that division. Yep. I just don't see them getting right. And now they're in Germany. I will shout out Tom Brady for being the only NFL player to play in 4 different countries or whatever.
How dope is that?
Yeah, I mean, of course he did, right? Why wouldn't he? Just another feather in his cap. But yeah, I'm going to roll with Seattle here. And I just think that they're going to continue to do what they do, which is win games.
Yep. Big play offense in Seattle, and then a very injured.
I will
Tampa Bay
ever
defense.
forget that now.
I'm never going to. It's just who they are to me now.
Yes.
All right, coming up next, let's look at the Minnesota Vikings at the Buffalo Bills. Nailed that one. Got that one
there
right.
You go.
Right now, Buffalo favored -3.5. Where do you lean for this one?
Oh, man, I got to go with Minnesota. I really do. I think that a lot of people believe that, Josh Allen, even if he doesn't play, they'll be okay. I just don't see it that way. I think that Josh Allen, having this elbow injury, one is really scary for his career, but he really needs to make sure that he is not rolled out there till he's 100% healthy because, man, the season that looks like it could be a great season for Buffalo could be derailed quick, fast, and in a hurry. Case Keenum is a veteran, but he ain't that guy, right? I mean, he ain't that guy. Look, I know Geno Smith is doing some great things in Seattle, but, man, Case Keenum is not all of a sudden going to be that guy too. Like, it's not the resurgence of the career backups. So
no.
I think that this is not a good game for Buffalo, and really it's not important. What's important for them is getting Josh Allen to be back to 100%. So I'm rolling with Minnesota.
It's not important. That's exactly where I was going. This is an out-of-conference game for Buffalo. You can drop this one and not have to worry about the tiebreakers and things like that. You're all right in your division record-wise. You're going to be okay there, especially if you protect Josh Allen. Put Josh Allen on ice. Let what may be when it comes to this game. Case Keenum knows him some Minnesota, so we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But I'll tell you what, in terms of backup quarterbacks, I think Case Keenum's going to be more Andy Dalton than he's going to be Geno Smith.
Right. Facts.
Indianapolis with interim head coach Jeff Saturday. What exactly the sentence I knew I was going to be saying when I woke up last Monday morning. Going up against your Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas favored 4.5 in this one. I think I know why. You're rolling with the Raiders on this one?
I mean, I'm rolling with the Raiders. I've been saying all week, Ross, on the Locked On Raiders podcast, the Raiders have no business losing this game. That doesn't mean they're not going to lose. It means they have no business losing this game. You know, I look at the Raiders as a guy who covers the team every day and says they have a lot of weird going on. They have a lot of strange going on. They're not in a good place right now. And then I look at the Colts and say, whoa, they got a lot of issues. Like if they have more issues than the Raiders do right now, that tells you all you need to know. So again, the Colts have no business winning the game. That's not me being disrespectful. It's just looking at the circumstances. But the Raiders find ways to, as you know, stink it up as they went to New Orleans and didn't even cross midfield. So, I mean, you know, it's just like, what in the world is going on? I think the Raiders win this game. But again, that's my gut feeling. We'll see what happens come Sunday at Allegiant Stadium. I'm rolling with the Raiders, though.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think the Raiders have to win this. Right. They gotta have to win this.
Don't let Saturday have a fantastic Sunday because Raider Nation will have an awful Monday.
There you go. I love that. I love that. For more on how, let's just say, everything going on in Indianapolis has impacted the line in this game, here is oddsmaker over at BetOnline, Dave Mason, with a quick hit to tell us about how this line has been moving like crazy all throughout the week.
Las Vegas opened as 3.5-point home favorites on Sunday, and that spread quickly moved to -6. On Tuesday, a day after the Jeff Saturday hire, the Colts moved to +6.5. Sharps took that number, however, moving the spread back down to 6. The house will be rooting for Indy. It's looking as 56% of the cash, 64% of the bettors are laying the points.
That was a 3-point swing when they hired the new head coach away from their favor. And of course, now as bettors have gotten in, it has dropped to 4.5. But my goodness, that's some crazy insight right there. Imagine being Jeff Saturday and walking in and being like, oh yeah, you're the new head coach. And also, we just took 3 points from your team in your first game.
Right.
Rough. All right. Next up, we're looking at the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Green Bay, going to Lambeau Field, and they're 4-point favorites, Q. How wild is that to even just say or hear?
It's wild, and you never thought you'd ever hear that as long as Aaron Rodgers was behind center, right? You never thought that would be the case, that all of a sudden a team coming in is a favorite in Lambeau, the frozen tundra.
In November?
In November on top of that. So, yeah, I'm with you 100%. It was wild when I thought about it, and then when I actually thought about it, it made all the sense in the world. I'm rolling with the Cowboys in that defense led by Micah Parsons, who you gave Defensive Player of the Year to. Very well deserved. I'm rolling with that defense to get it done.
Yep, easy one for me as well. Going with Dallas the whole way there. Aaron Rodgers just is not the Aaron Rodgers of old. He is whatever this Aaron Rodgers of new is, and it ain't working.
No.
All right, then we're going to wrap up with our 2 primetime games to wrap up the weekend. We got the Los Angeles Chargers headed to the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers favored heavily in this one, -7. I like the 49ers in this matchup, but I might take the Chargers in terms of the points.
And the points, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the points are there for the taking. I'll tell you what, man, as a guy who covers the AFC West, the Chargers, I know they have 5 wins, and I give them all the credit in the world for that. But it is such a wonky 5 wins. I mean, they've found ways to just walk into dubs. And again, you got to give them credit for that. But, man, they've got guys injured. They've got kickers out as usual. Their head coach makes questionable decisions. There's just so much weird going on with the Chargers. So I'm going to roll with San Fran. I'm going to think that the 49ers will get it done. I'm tempted to take the points, like you said, but I'm just going to roll with San Francisco and think that Christian McCaffrey and company and them get everything rolling.
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait to see what Sean Payton does with the Los Angeles Chargers next year. That's going to be so fun.
Don't put that evil on me like that. You understand what that means? I got to cover the AFC West, man. I don't need that.
Hey, if nothing else, you'll have soundbite after soundbite to use from interview after interview. That's for sure. All right. Last up, Monday Night Football. See, you did it to me with the wild card Seahawks. I'm putting that with Seattle. True. I'm putting Sean on you.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, let's wrap it up with the Monday Night Football matchup. It's an NFC East matchup. Washington Commanders going to Philadelphia to take on the undefeated 8-0 MVP Jalen Hurts led Philadelphia Eagles team who are favored Q by 11 points.
I'm glad this is the last one because this doesn't need any explanation. All I got to say is bye, Felicia. Right? That's all I got to say. And when I say that, I'm pointing that directly at Washington. They've got enough issues going on. You think Indy's like, man, we thought we had it bad. Look at Washington and Dan Snyder. Man, we're in a good place.
Dan Snyder's in so much trouble, the commissioner's in trouble.
Right, exactly. So I think Philadelphia, unless they just decide that they're going to be out partying all night and realizing that Washington is not a very good team, there's no doubt that Washington rolls in this, or that Philly rolls in this one, excuse me. And so, yeah, there you go. I'm rolling with the Eagles. I'm rolling with Jalen Hurts. And the points, I don't even think the points are going to matter.
All the way. Philly has won 4 of their 8 games by 11 or more points. One of those games was against the Washington Commanders at home or on the road. Up against Washington. So something to keep in mind there in terms of those points. Q, always a blast being able to bring everybody everything they need to know across the NFL here with you on this Friday edition of Locked On NFL. For more from your boy Q, make sure you follow him on Twitter at yourboyQ254. You can also check him out every Monday through Friday over at Locked On Raiders. Myself, you can follow on Twitter at Ross Jackson Nola. You can catch it all every day over at Locked On Saints as well. Coming up in our next episode will be Monday. All the biggest stories as led by Kevin Ostreicher from the weekend. He's going to have you covered on Monday's episode of Locked On NFL. And for your second listen today, don't forget to go and check out Locked On Sports Today, Take of the Day, all the biggest stories, biggest matchups, everything you need. You can find that on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. For Q, I'm Ross. I appreciate y'all. We appreciate y'all very much for making us your first listen of the day. We'll see you again here soon on Locked On NFL, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.